Beautiful to be with you. Welcome. And while we're just getting people coming in, I've got this awesome skull. Look at this. Wow. This is not a skull of Homo sapien, because the eyebrows are too far forward and the whole thing's shaped like a rugby ball. This is the skull of a Homo Neanderthal, one of the 20 species of human that once lived on our planet with us. And this skull features in the film that I've been working on, which, I'm excited to share with you. Yeah, Neanderthals. Evolution, the medium through which the intelligence of the universe expresses itself and gets more complicated over time. And the source of all of our being is quite incredible. Yeah, the common intelligence that connects all of us, no matter our countries, genders, and even our species. We all come from the same mysterious intelligence, the Tao, God, Allah, the forces of nature. Cool stuff. Yeah, so we're 5 to 7% Neanderthal, which is pretty amazing. I've read 2%, so 2% of our DNA is Neanderthal DNA. And that means that the Neanderthals weren't just brutes that died out because they were dumb, but instead they, are, and one of your ancestors was a Neanderthal. It's pretty awesome. And it meant that Homo sapiens and Neanderthals, they bred together and were attracted to one another and could do the business, which is quite cool. So we're not just a species of human that just otherwise is distinct from the rest of nature. Evolution happened over a process. We found over 20 species of human, which is quite incredible, and an immense range of intelligence. So Andy asks, what do you do when you're losing faith in life goals? What do you do when you're losing faith in life goals? Well, we can take a few different approaches to this. So, the Taoist approach would be that action is useful and good, but can you remember non-action? Goals can be helpful, but can you remember to let go of goals and to just trust in your nature right now, right here, and to move spontaneously and intuitively in our lives, as opposed to needing to depend on external goals and for that to motivate us? Can we trust ourselves to move with wisdom from the present moment, this state of being called Wu Wei? And so in some ways, when we look at the other species on this planet, when you look at the squirrels and we look at the badgers, and they don't have life goals, right? They don't have a piece of paper saying 5 ways to become an effective badger. They just do their badger stuff. And so we have from nature a permission to just be. Permission just to be. So can we rest in that? Can we rest? So goals are helpful, goals are great, but if they are causing you, the word you used is losing faith. That's an interesting word that you've used, Andy. And my thoughts on that is can the faith be based on something that is, more static, more durable, which is, our being now, which is with us from birth to death. This consciousness, this awareness, this loving awareness that we are, this embodied consciousness that we are. And although the body's constantly changing, can we rest and have faith in our basic nature? A second principle is flexibility. So first principle is, can we trust who we are now? Second principle is that, even if we do want to do stuff and we want to act and we want to achieve, is that can we be flexible? And so having an intention to do stuff is great and necessary as a human living in the complex world that we are living in. But can you bring the appropriate flexibility? It could be that your goals are no longer serving you and may not be right. And so being attentive to that. And then number 3 is to trust the process. Journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. So all we can do in this journey of life is keep stepping, step by step. If we think about the external destination, we can get overwhelmed and feel like we're not good enough to make it, for example. And so can we just focus on breaking that goal down into what's an action I can take today, and just focusing on that. Focusing on that. So say, for example, with the film that I've been working on in Scotland, big project, and my underminer, the voice in my head that brings me down and gives me pain, is bringing up thoughts of, who are you, George, to say anything? And you're not good enough to make a film. And as always, I like to think big with my films and to try and talk about a lot. And my underminer doesn't like that. And so I've been recording up in Scotland, now back down in Bristol, and all I can do is just simply be present with those thoughts of that lack of trust in myself, and just to allow them to come, to not necessarily listen to them, not to believe them, and to get through. And so part of faith in oneself is to understand that there's a journey, there's a natural journey with twists and turns and difficulties and dead ends, and all of that is part of the journey. So even if you feel maybe hopeless, or you feel like the things that you want in your life, you're not manifesting them, and they're not coming into your life in the ways that you expected, trust that process and just keep stepping. Combining that with the flexibility, then, as the world changes, as you grow, then maybe you're going to take a different path. And so, that intention is actually the more important thing, as opposed to the goal. Goals are great, but an intention is a direction. A goal is a destination. And the direction is what we have power over. We don't have power over achieving a certain destination. So actually the intention is more reliable. And again, the Taoists, they talk about it. Yi Dao, Qi Dao. Yi Dao, Qi Dao. When the intention arrives, the energy arrives. Yi or Yi is intention, Qi is energy, as you know, Dao arrives. So Yi Dao, Qi Dao. When the intention arrives, the energy arrives. Or a nice sort of rhyming thing with that is where the intention goes, the energy flows. It's a nice one. So can you hold on to the intention instead of needing the goal? And the goals are great. And you're going to have to work it out with your own wisdom journey, my friend. You're the one with the power and the wisdom to be able to navigate your unique situations and what really is your path and what's going to serve you. Thank you, Andy. Jarmelia asks, is there any Taoist recommendations for very big suffering? Because sometimes it's hard to just accept some life situations. Yeah, so thank you, Jarmelia, and sending good intentions and warmth if you have been going through some big challenges at the moment. How does Taoism approach big challenges? Again, a lot of the journey is about self-knowledge and awareness. So there's kind of two levels of pain in our lives. There's the pain of stuff that happens, and then there's the pain of how we react to it. And we can reduce the pain in our lives. So say like in conflict in relationship, being able to communicate our heart and our emotions and our feelings and our needs is a skill, something that takes practice, something that you need to read books about and to go to maybe courses. And non-violent communication has been the most transformational communication language for expressing love that I have found. And I have taken great joy in studying it and building the confidence to express my vulnerability and my heart. So it's a skill. So and when we more skillfully navigate our relationships, then they become less painful. So we have less pain in our lives. But then you have stuff, like car crashes or cancers, and a whole range of things that just are out of our control and they just happen. And even if a big traumatic event does happen in our lives that maybe we did have some a power in that, and we didn't maybe live up to our standards, how do we react to that pain? How do we react to it? So we've got the pain of the world, which we can reduce, but pain's inevitable, it's part of life. And then we got the secondary pain of how we respond to that. So normally we respond to pain with, I don't want this. This is, unfair and unjust, and I don't deserve this, and I'm not strong enough to hold this. And so we create additional suffering where previously we may have been able to flow out of the inevitable events of life, going through periods of pain, but coming out the other side. With this additional pain, we then get stuck. And so we have rigid ways of thinking about who we are and how our other people work, and then we get stuck in that pain. So what's the way out of that second pain is just, compassion. Compassion is a practice, and to just extend love, kindness, generosity to that part of yourself that's hurting. And to acknowledge it's okay to hurt. To hurt is to be human. And to try and connect with the truth of our being, which is this loving awareness. So, we're conscious, we're here, and we're aware, we're having experiences. All of our thoughts and emotions are experiences arising in our awareness, in our consciousness. And the beautiful thing is that when we really connect with that consciousness, is that we realize that it can hold all experience. It is our birthright for our consciousness to be able to witness even the most intense emotions without collapsing, without breaking down, without judging. Even the judgments happen within our awareness, right? So through meditation, and that's why meditation is the path to freedom with Taoism, is to be able to open that space within through our meditation practice, to notice the judgments, to notice the reactions to the pain and the suffering, and to just watch them, to acknowledge them, not to fight them or to resist them, to meet them with kindness. And then through meeting them with kindness, they naturally dissipate. Change is the only constant. No storm lasts forever. This too shall pass. That is an inevitability. The speed at which it passes is up to us and how we react to that pain. So I hope that is valuable to you, my friend. Thank you, Jamelia. So welcoming some more questions. But in the meantime, I'm going to tell you a story. I love telling stories to you, and I haven't done one for ages. I've been kind of exploring books recently in the live sessions and trying to talk about more kind of politics and social change and non-violent resistance with Gandhi and stuff like that. But let's have a story. Shall we have a story? And it's on, the story is on the kind of like, what are we doing with the spiritual path? What are we here to do? And what is the path to more fulfillment, more peace, more wisdom in our lives? And what does the intelligence of the universe invite us to do? So, what does God or Allah or Tao or the forces of nature, you can stay full atheist with it. When we understand God or the Tao or the forces of nature, what is a kind of a natural reaction to that? And how do we stay in connection with that? Because at the core of the spiritual quest is to that innate desire for us to want to be in connection, to want to come to know this great mystery we find ourselves involved with, and to feel in relationship with that which we are a part of, that which created us. So there was a monastery once that was, had passed down. It was a very strict monastery, lots of meditations and prayers, and there was celibate, no sex, and very basic food. And the monks would inscribe the scriptures on wooden tablets. So they would copy the scriptures from the old texts onto wooden tablets and then stick it around the monastery for their teachings. And they'd been doing this for hundreds of years. One day, one monk said, should we actually check what we're copying? Because, sometimes we make mistakes and we are copying the copies of the copies of the copies of the copies. And, what if we actually have mistranslated the text? And the abbot, the leader of the monastery, said, yeah, this is a good idea. We should probably go and check the originals. We've got some originals in the vault down below the monastery, which we can go check. So the abbot goes down, and people don't see him for like 3 hours. And eventually the monks decide, okay, we should go down and check if he's okay. So they start going down, and they see the abbot there, knocking his head against the wall and moaning and crying, no, 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 no. And we're like, what's wrong? What happened? And the abbot said, it was celebrate. Celebrate. Hey, it's celebrate. Oh, they got it wrong. So for those, normally you're not supposed to explain jokes, but yeah, for some of you, English may not be your first language, so hopefully some of you get that. They're all celibates, and they are having to work, really hard and puritanically on their spiritual cultivation, no enjoyment. And then they go down to the basement and they find that it's not, the teachings didn't say be celibate, it said celebrate. A little typo with big consequences. And this feeds into a general principle of, what's the approach that we're taking with our lives? Like if we actually see nature's so exuberant and expressive, like the raspberries taste outrageously good, and the squirrels, they play more than they need to, and the flowers look more beautiful than they need to attract bees. Like there's this exuberance as part of nature. And although sensations and desires and pleasures can be the source of an awful lot of distraction and keeps us sedated instead of living in connection with our wiser selves, desires still come from nature, right? And we can have desires that come from our wisdom, like a desire to want to forgive, a desire to want to be in connection, a desire to learn and understand ourselves. These are still desires, and they emerge from our wisdom. And so, do we need to be puritanical with our lives and miss out on some of the kind of the great expressions of the exuberance of life, of intimacy, and may not be available for all of us, but also showing love and compassion and celebrating life, as opposed to needing to always be so puritanical. So that's a fun one, right? It was celebrate, not celibate. The Buddha talked about the middle way. So, his whole story was becoming an ascetic and basically not eating anything for months, and probably becoming a breatharian, someone who can just live off chi and prana and breath. But he found actually this punishing approach to his development wasn't actually serving him, just caused more conflict inside, and actually it in itself was a desire to have nothing, like to try and be desireless. You shed all of the sensory pleasure and you just live very simply, you eat very basic food, live like an ascetic. But even that desire to live without pleasure is a desire. And it's one of the core paradoxes at the heart of our personal growth journeys and spirituality, is that paradox of wanting to be wiser and in connection. But so long as we're wanting connection, we have defined ourselves as people not in connection. And if we're wanting to be wise and peaceful, we're defining ourselves as people who are not wise or peaceful. And so the Buddha found that, earlier in his life, he was a prince and a hedonist and getting all the pleasures in the world, and that didn't serve him either. And then he went to become an ascetic and had nothing. And then he found the middle way where, yeah, just trying to relax all of these harshness and constructs, or losing ourselves to pleasure, and just to try and find wisdom through a more intuitive way. And again, meditation being the, meditation can be the path. So Jamelia says, there's a price to pay for not checking. This is fun. Yeah, John, the Buddha supposedly survived on a grain of rice a day for 40 days. And the people say that the Atkins is extreme. Graham's reflections, the challenge to check your work is the journey to be reflective and learn. So, yeah, going back to that quality and being careful with the work that we do, and not just basing our ideas on hearsay either. And again, that's the difference between religion and spirituality, or organized religion and spirituality, is that for the religion, the authority comes from the institution, God's work on earth, represented through churches and popes and or the paraphernalia of organized religion. Spirituality instead invites a direct connection to source, to the intelligence from which we emerge, and only you can discover that connection, because it has to be a connection that you feel. And so philosophies and spiritualities can offer advice to guide you on that journey to be in connection, but ultimately you need to take the step, and it doesn't depend on external. So yeah, that's an even bigger metaphor of that story, is that if you're just basing your practice on hearsay, what people in previous generations said, then you need to be cautious of that. And it can be valuable, these traditions are valuable, but you also need to make sure that you're tapping into your intuition and your own experience, and making sure that that is part of your learning journey. And again, meditation, that's the main tool to gain clarity over your experience, to gain new perspective over your experience. Mindfulness, awareness, compassion, they are trainable qualities. Gri Peregrine asks, have you experienced any synchronicities? Synchronicities where things happen that seem bafflingly coincidental, like things that just work out in a nice flow. And yeah, my science brain, because science is an important part of what I share, and also as a Taoist practice as well, they base their learnings on observations, and science at its core is about a process of observation. The kind of the dominant atheist worldview wouldn't give much to synchronicities or serendipity. It's just everything's random. Whereas, yes, lots of spiritual traditions have said when you set good intentions, you kind of set out good vibrations that are then felt and reciprocated. So almost the universe wants to help you if you send out the right intentions. And this is the basics of manifestation and manifesting things in your life. Is that if you are aligned with your truth, with your Tao nature, with your Buddha nature, then the universe responds to that wisdom and that good intention and can help you. In my life, finding Master Goon, finding Tai Chi did feel quite, finding the only English-speaking master in the whole Wudang Mountains, and the fact that I was going to learn Kung Fu and found Tai Chi, and actually Tai Chi resonated with me much more. And I didn't know what Taoism was, and I thought Buddhism is probably better because I've heard of Buddhism, whereas I haven't heard of Taoism. My life has completely changed. And Master Gu's friends at the school would say, so you two met through Yuen Fen, which is their word for destiny. And for them, it's as tangible as meeting down the pub. You met through Yuen Fen, that's how you met. So my experience that actually, I think that you can, in some ways, create your reality through your intention, and the world reciprocates good intentions. there's a limit to that. You know, it's like saying to starving children around the world, like, if you just had better intentions, then maybe you would have a loaf of bread. It's your fault. Yeah, that's pretty challenging. So, you know, manifestation needs to be seen within the framework of the reality of economic and political systems and, you know, an interconnected natural system of which we are a part of. And yeah, it's like trying to manifest a healthy plant when it's put in salt. You can try as hard as you want to manifest a healthy plant, but ultimately you need to create the soil in which it flourishes. So the same thing for us humans. We have basic needs that need to be met in order to help us flourish, and we need to work together collectively to create societies that support us instead of supporting billionaires to make too much money. And getting rewarded for working hard is great, but rewarding excess gross consumption, I think we can create systems that serve us a lot better and serve the planet in a sustainable way. So yeah, some fun stuff on synchronicities. Much love, everyone. Thank you so much. Always a privilege to be with you.